Well, hello again. It's Andy Anderson, that old man again. Today I want to talk about we need a jump start. Something done to get our nation back from where it's at. How much longer will we suffer the inconvenience of an undeclared war with non-working ceasefire, and that's Iran, combined with a non-working House of Representatives, Congress, who are failing to actually represent the constituents who elected them? Will these same constituents allow these failing representatives to be reelected? Or will you actually get off your butts and do something to rescue your towns, cities, states, and commonwealths from these fraudsters who are more concerned with keeping their own power base and destroying the very nation they have sworn an oath to protect, an oath which went out the window as soon as they sat down in the chair. And they falsely claim that your safety is their main concern. If it was, they would be following that oath. Over the last 250 years, your nation has had to fight the same battle, attacked from within by communists and socialists. Each time you, the citizens, rose up, saying enough is enough, and reclaimed this republic of freedom for God-fearing people. The old Soviet Union once claimed they would destroy us from within. It looks like others have taken up that same goal, using the same strategy. And unfortunately, it appears to be working. We now have the weakest elected officials in our history who are trying to do the same thing to destroy us from within, to use our own laws to prevent us from having a free nation founded on our Constitution. The Declaration of Independence says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." We keep hearing this part, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness part, which excludes the whole truth behind them, our Creator. And the Constitution starts off with, "The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the United States, establishing the federal government structure with three branches, legislative, executive, judicial, and defining the rights of citizens, beginning with the preamble and followed by 7 articles and 27 amendments, including the first 10, known as the Bill of Rights, drafted in 1787. It replaced the Articles of Confederation to create a stronger federal system with checks and balances, ensuring the government's power is derived from the people, not the elected politicians, but the people." Let me say again, the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the United States, not any other nation's laws that have been imported here. Definitely not the Muslim Sharia law, which is different for each local imam's interpretation. The laws are not the same. Wherever you go, they're different for the Sharia law. It seems during the current insurgency, which is being supported by elected officials and representatives, an insurgent judicial system, and radical organizations which support the militarized protests and even fund the obvious insurgent actions. All of these illegal activities by these people are trying their best to bypass parts of our Constitution. They are even attempting to pass local and state commonwealth laws and ordinances which override our Constitution, which clearly states the Supremacy Clause, "The Constitution and federal laws are the highest law in the country." These renewed internal infections of communists and socialists are being more successful than their predecessors. How did they manage to achieve such success? Why is it that the richest people are the ones who claim socialism is what's needed in the USA? Really? Thinking they will be exempt from its draconian way of life, How did you start believing their lives of prosperity would be funded by heavily taxing the rich and corporations to provide you, the citizen, with unsustainable things such as free housing, free transportation, free low-cost food, and free medical care? One of my favorite authors, Robert A. Heinlein, said one of the truest statements ever made. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Someone, somewhere, has to pick up the tab or bill for the cost of the free stuff you receive. If there is no one there to pay for it, your society will collapse into poverty and starvation. Once the heavily taxed rich and corporations get tired of excessive taxation and they go somewhere else or just close their doors, who will be available to pay for all of the free things you have been promised as your right to receive? I guarantee the so-called leaders you elected will not want to give up the riches they have accumulated and have been receiving. So they will insist you will need to pick up the slack and pay more taxes to make up for the loss of taxes from the rich and companies who have picked up and moved or shut their doors. But wait, you haven't got a job with a paycheck to pay taxes on. You believed everything you needed would be free from the government. There was no need to have a job. And with the companies which have disappeared, there is no work available. What's happened? Why is there a limit of what you can get from the stores? How can they expect you to live on just one loaf of bread and 1 gallon of milk for a week? Do you have the money for buying any luxury items like beef or fresh vegetables? And why have the buses stopped running? What happened to the electricity and water? It's off and on, off and on. The news says everything is still good. Those elected leaders are just blaming some unknown and fake organizations for the problems in your local area only. Everything is fine in the surrounding areas. So, just like a bunch of dominoes, when one falls, the others follow. Those elected leaders have decided the answer to the loss of tax money is to nationalize everything. That way, everyone will have an equal portion of necessary items, which will be managed and distributed by those elected leaders. Surprise! Once that happens, there will be no need for the farce of elections. Now they will remain in control. They know what's best. The better to serve you. So there is no need to hold campaigns or elections, which are just a waste of time and money. When we go to Psalms 127, verse 1, a song of degrees for Solomon. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain which build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for so he giveth his beloved sheep. By not heeding the calls and warnings of the watchmen who dared to speak out against what is happening, our once beautiful and strong nation will and does suffer, even as Israel did. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, and wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. To avoid such tragedy, we need all all God-fearing citizens to stand up and fight back against the insurgencies and atrocities brought upon us by the destroyed Democratic Party, to get the unpatriotic Democrats, both incumbent and new candidates, removed from office. We've got to stop all of these unbalanced elections from happening. Support those who fear God and or have common sense as their moral compass. And may God bless all who stand up and work to restore our nation once more.